The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
The Dave Hooker Show. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Objective insight, expertise, top guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free. Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
Ready.
Welcome to the program. We'll discuss my Heisman ballot as it was completed in due time, but I did do all of my research, and we'll discuss Nico Eberle. What are his prospects for winning the Heisman down the road? I know we probably got a little bit ahead of ourselves with it this past year, but I still think he has an excellent opportunity to win a Heisman Trophy or at least go to New York, which given Tennessee's history would probably be a victory in and of itself. Also, Jarrett Guarantano reaches out to Tennessee fans. I got a couple of ways of looking at this. It seems like everybody does when things are going well and you need tickets. I don't know if they were reaching out when they were winning 6 games under Derek Dooley. Caleb, how are you, sir?
I am good. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm well. You do have a lot of guys reaching out. Jarrett Guarantano, which we'll get to him in just a little bit. But what are your thoughts on kind of guys reaching out?
I think it's a case-by-case basis. Arian Foster, for instance, waited until when he was riding high as an NFL Pro Bowler and Tennessee was struggling, he had no problem throwing pot shots at Tennessee all the time. And then when his career is over and he's irrelevant and Tennessee's rolling, all of a sudden he wants to reach out. I don't think Jarrett Guarantano's situation is the same. I'm just going to say I think Jarrett Guarantano was sabotaged by some awful coaching and awful instability during his time at Tennessee.
Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of quarterback. No, you're absolutely right about the instability. There were big time issues there. There were big time issues at other times, and guys have been able to overcome. That didn't happen in Jarrett Guarantano. Go ahead and click that thumbs up button. We want you to like the program. If you haven't subscribed, do so now. So just a little bit later in the program, Jacob Warren will join us. He's brought to you by Peak IV Hydration. We love visiting with Jacob, get the insight into Tennessee's football program. He played with these guys last year. He should know a little something about it. And as we do settle down into this new bowl season, does this period feel a little bit odd, Caleb, for you, that we've kind of got this period in which you don't have a lot of football for? I guess it's a shorter time than the old bowl periods, actually, though.
Yeah, it's the same as like work. If you guys remember when we all had day jobs, there's that period. Well, your day job was covering Tennessee football, so I guess that doesn't apply to you. But for those of us whose day job was not always covering college football, this is the type of period. This is the period of the year where you kind of you half work. You just kind of call in and like, yeah, okay, sure, but whatever. That's how football feels during this time until the playoff.
It's like National Vasectomy Day. It's the Wednesday before the NCAA tournament. Did you know that?
I did, actually.
More men get a vasectomy done because you're supposed to sit there on the couch. That's all you're supposed to do for a couple of days. Well, that works in line with the NCAA basketball tournament. I
didn't realize. I just learned that you're apparently fertile right after a vasectomy. Takes about 20 times before you got to get all that out of your system.
Yeah, that trip has sailed. Ship has gone. Whatever it is. Today's tough question is now. It's brought to you by our good friends. We're represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
4 downs. 4 questions. 4 answers. The Dave Hooker Show.
4
downs. A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
I can't tell sometimes if Caleb Calhoun's trying to be clever or he's just a little bit ahead of the curve, or probably a little bit of both, which is the case for most of us. But Caleb, you said, is Tennessee already won already? If Tennessee just gets the pub that they're going to get, which is worth, heck, over $100 million, I'll just throw a random number at it. How about that, Caleb? Tennessee has won. The fact that they've been the lead game in the first weekend of this inaugural 12-team playoff, yeah, they've won. But ultimately, would it be disappointing for the Vols after all that they've overcome to go on the road and lose in Columbus? that would be very disappointing as well.
It would. Now, I want to be clear on this. I don't think that they would have just won by getting the pub, going to the playoff in the 8-9 seed, and then losing, even if they lost badly. The reason it's unique this time, and I think they have won, is because of the story of Vol fans allegedly hijacking Ohio State tickets, which we talked about last week. That story could have died on its own. We don't even know what it's going to look like in the Horseshoe on Saturday. But for Ohio State's athletic director to come out and ask to stop reselling tickets to Tennessee fans gives it a ton of credence. So now the message is out there that Ohio State is having trouble warding off Tennessee fans going to the game. And Dave, my mind just goes straight to recruiting.
You can never have that press conference. Did he do that via a press conference, or did he just reach out to a reporter? You can't have that. It was the same thing when Doug Dickey, athletic director at the time, stood up for Jerry Green. Just by saying that there's not an issue, there's an issue. So you can't say that there's not an issue at Ohio State when there's clearly an issue.
Yes, exactly. There's obviously an issue. He wouldn't be asking people to stop doing this if there wasn't an issue. So for him to call that press conference, now the whole college football world gets to see that Ohio State has a problem keeping Tennessee fans out of their stadium. It doesn't even matter what's shown on camera on Saturday, by the way. It's just, because again, there's the off chance that, maybe we're all just blowing smoke and Ohio State's 80% of the fan base at 85. We don't know. It doesn't matter. The Ohio State athletic director, Ross Brewer, coming out and actually saying, please to stop selling your tickets to Tennessee fans.
What exactly did he say?
Let me pull it up real quick.
Because just for those that don't know, you never say that, right? That's essentially admitting before the game, hey, you guys have a lot better athletes. We're going to do our best and give it a good old shot, right?
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. I'm trying. Oh yeah. It was a Columbus radio station, 97.1, the Fans Morning Juice. He said, Tennessee fans, they're rabid fans. They're going to invade the shoe. Let's make sure we don't have as much orange in there as people think. Who said Tennessee fans were going to invade the Horseshoe?
Yeah.
Would Danny White ever say that? Even if it was true from the other side?
No.
He would be like, no, not worried about Tennessee fans. We got the best in the country.
I don't know if they do this, but it seems like they do. They adhere to the old rule of not even mentioning the other team's name. Have you heard Danny White or Josh Heupel say Ohio State yet?
No, but I never even thought about that, but you're right. They kind of do. Not in the cheesy way, the way Derek Mason did one time when Derek Mason and Vanderbilt was playing Tennessee, and Derek Mason's like, the team out east. We're going to call them the team out east. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. But yeah, not that level. But even if they are, though, I think Josh Heupel may have said, like, looking at Ohio State, the type of team they are, something like that, something along those lines. And the players have certainly mentioned it. Andre Turrentine talking trash about the Horseshoe. But again, the perception is out there. The perception is that that Ohio State fans are threatened by Tennessee fans. And that perception, I'm sorry, guys. Yes, NIL's to the lead calls of recruiting today, but that's a big one right there. You don't think a kid down to Tennessee and Ohio State would think, man, but Ohio State's having issues like filling up their stadium for the college football playoff, and because Tennessee fans might invade them. You don't think that's going to stand out to a recruit?
Yeah, kid or coach, let me ask you this. I'm going to change up today's tough question. So, kid or coach, would you go to Tennessee or Ohio State? You're in those two positions. Might be a new segment for us. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. So would you go to Ohio State or Tennessee, kid or coach? Caleb, I'll ask you that question after 45 seconds from T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. Banks. Kid or coach, if they had a pick between Columbus or Knoxville, where should the coach/kid go in this particular case?
The kid should go to Knoxville. The coach should go to Ohio State. Ohio State's a top 3 easy job in America.
Yeah. I agree with both of those.
Yeah.
Tennessee. Now everything would change, right? If they suddenly were recruiting different athletes, you're talking about a Heupel move or something. So,
Right.
I mean,
But
we're talking about something massive for them to just start recruiting Michigan level athletes left and right. And
Right.
Ohio State. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Ohio State. Well, it's just that Ohio State's an easier job because the state of Ohio is loaded with talent, and Ohio State's the only school within miles that gets that. I mean, I don't know, Dave, you cover recruiting. My understanding, I don't think Michigan gets too many of those kids. Do they? They don't really go into Ohio and get that many kids.
No, they're pretty much think of Tennessee into Michigan like Ohio State into Ohio State or into Michigan. They're kind
Think
of
of Tennessee into what? Sorry.
Well, think of Tennessee into Atlanta. When you think of Ohio State going into Detroit or
Michigan going into Ohio.
Yeah. You want to get one or two or three of those guys. You're not going to live on that for your entire time, but I think you can be incredibly inept there. I'm curious as to the number of transfer portal people that we have seen come out right now. Caleb, has it been a fast, furious pace? What have been your thoughts?
Oh, we'll get to that. It's kind of an expected pace at this point. Tennessee's losing some kind of expected players. Now, that's another one, Dave. If Tennessee fans fill Ohio Stadium, is that going to have an impact on transfer portal kids, not just recruits?
Well, I can't see why that wouldn't. And we talked about this yesterday, that Dan Patrick had said that he had talked to well-placed sources that had talked to kids that are now evaluating where they're going to go, and they were in elimination games. So those that don't know, he covers a lot of Ohio State. So I put 2 and 2 together there. Caleb, you could be very well signing a young man that you play on Saturday. You could sign him on Sunday or Monday of next week.
That's a very good point. So, oh my gosh, could you imagine an Ohio State kid shows up, plays Tennessee on Saturday, not happy with the fans showing up for the game, and then he signs with Tennessee on Monday, the next Monday?
Yeah, and Caleb, I'll say this too. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but with NIL, when it came in and being a small part of it, which I was and still are with Cooper Mays and City Heating and Air Conditioning, I thought at the time that the biggest concern was the governance or lack thereof with it. I still have the same concern. I just don't see. I don't even really know who's in charge. I used to know where to go print up the rules and read them and have them on hand at all times and have the calendars and all that stuff set up. But Caleb, we don't even have that anymore because we don't know who's in charge.
No, we don't. And but that's it's kind of how it goes with the old West. So do you think fans in the stadium will outweigh or compete with NIL potential on the recruiting trail and in the transfer portal news, like Tennessee fans in the stadium? Do you think that'll be a factor, or is it just all NIL now? I
think there's this one innate metric that we haven't used yet. You're an analyst guy. Use this one. Good vibes. Do you remember the Ghostbusters 2 movie when they shoot each other's with the splooge and feel better about it? Do you remember that?
I never watched Ghostbusters, so.
Okay. Terrible second movie. Awful. Don't watch it. But it's just like a feel-good thing that they've got going on. And Caleb, you would have made fun of me this, I'll say, 1.5 years ago, heading into that season, me saying that I thought that their core values as a team were going to be very critical, not only last year, but in every year that Josh Heupel's a part of. Listen, if you don't have those core critical values on your football team, Caleb, you can get caught up really quick and lose yourself. And to me, losing yourself is the definition of looking for another place to play if you're in the first round of the college football playoffs.
All right, Eminem. Lose yourself. Sorry, I was just messing with you. No, I could see that. I kind of agree. I think the culture is a big deal. And Tennessee clearly at least has a better culture than Ohio State right now. I mean, Ohio State fans are not doing well at the moment. I mean,
am I the only one that feels like this is just being set up for the big battered ball syndrome, pull the carpet underneath your feet? Am I the only one that feels like that? And I haven't. In all this time that we've worked together, I've steadfastly taken that aside, that BVS thing, and just called it stupid. But
is it battered ball syndrome if you lose to Ohio State, though? You're a 7.5-point underdog.
Well, if that's where your program is, then you don't have battered ball syndrome. You're just got battered contender syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. So, I guess it's battered ball syndrome if you lose by 40 and people think you didn't belong. But yeah.
Yeah, Michael Jordan had it for about 6 years. It was battered Pistons. It happens. Commercial bank member FDIC, life made better, cbtn.com, cbtn.com. I'll tell you more about them here momentarily. First, I want to tell you about our friends at Work Trucks. Work Trucks, all about trucks. Trucks are actually available. Trucks that help you maximize your profits by having the right work vehicle now. Time is money. The perfect work vehicle doesn't break down, has all the space to carry what you need. That's what Work Trucks is intent on offering, while other dealerships just can't do it. Contracting is all about time. Work Trucks saves you time with less back and forth trips that pass the highest standards to be put to work. The process is quick and easy when choosing a vehicle for Work Trucks. Cargo vans, utility body trucks with an app-hide work bodies installed, pickup trucks of all sizes, anything special like cranes or dump trucks, they got them. Work Trucks supplies vehicles to people just like you and get you back on the road tomorrow. Work Trucks, got to know them. That's a fact. Service industry, got to know them. Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com. Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com on Clinton Highway and in Birmingham. Again, Work Trucks, proud supporters of the Tennessee Vols, and we certainly do appreciate them. Anytime you're going to have a decade of dysfunction, Caleb, I think it's safe to say that you're going to have some hurt feelings. Fair?
Fair. Totally fair.
I mean, I would hope that guys were upset about not winning more during that decade of dysfunction. Jarrett Guarantano reaches out to Tennessee fans, and kind of everybody is doing it now. And everybody did it in 2022 when maybe they had their feelings hurt a little bit and they didn't know who this Josh Heupel guy was. And, but they're going to come back a little bit. I say just stay gone. I mean, if you weren't a part of Tennessee's program and proud to wear the Power T in 2018 or 2019, just cruise. Program will be just fine without you. Not to Jarrett Guarantano, it's specifically, not him, just to anybody else. If you're just doing it now to get, I don't know, a few more influencer ad campaigns, just cruise. Caleb, is that hardcore?
No, but like you said, it depends on the person. You're right. So like we said, Arian Foster, be gone. Arian Foster was throwing shots at Tennessee during the decade of dysfunction, threw Philip Fulmer under the bus when he was like, I took money from Tennessee, and, they had no problem doing those things. And then all of a sudden when Tennessee is beating Alabama, he wants to come back in. It was pathetic. I'm just going to be honest. It was pathetic.
Agreed.
Not the same for Jarrett Guarantano. Jarrett Guarantano was at Tennessee for 5 years, had 2 different head coaches, had 4 different offensive coordinators. The only time he entered the next year with the same offensive coordinators a year before was 2020 when he had Jim Chaney, and then it was the COVID year, so then a lot of things were messed up on their own. He dealt with a lot at Tennessee. Butch Jones first threw him in as a starter in 2017 against South Carolina when South Carolina was led by Will Muschamp. Say what you want about Will Muschamp, Dave, but I think even you would agree he's a great defensive mind.
Well, and I'll take you back a step further. I think this is where you started seeing Butch Jones first learn the missteps of recruiting. Do you remember this is the one where they did with the green screen and they did the Guarantano announcement in the center of
Times Square, right?
Times Square, remember?
Yep.
Remember that? Okay.
Yep.
And I think that built up excitement, which is good for a coach, but I also think if Butch Jones is smart, he learned that when you inflate those recruiting notions and they get really full, they make a big pop. They don't just drizzle down, Caleb.
No, that's true. And so he threw Guarantano out for his first start against South Carolina when he was desperately trying to save his job. Didn't work out. Jeremy Pruitt comes in, starts Guarantano for 3 years. Guarantano's benched in, brought back in multiple times in 2019. It just ends badly. Then he goes to Washington State for a year, and then he goes to the NFL, and he does get NFL money. Jarrett Guarantano has never thrown shots at Tennessee fans. He's never said anything negative about them. He's never said anything negative about Tennessee. I think Jarrett Guarantano just dealt with a lot when he was here or when he was in Knoxville. Let's not forget, he also played 1 year with just a makeshift, terrible offensive line and could not stay up and kept getting wrecked. I think when you take everything into account, I think that Jarrett Guarantano should honestly be welcomed back with open arms and kind of welcomed back in a way of thank you for leading Tennessee through that rough time and having to deal with all that because it's not your fault. And, I know I'm seeming as hypocritical because I can't stand Tyler Bray, who also led Tennessee through a tough time, but Tyler Bray had the worst intangibles and just didn't seem to care at all if he won or lost. I can't really say the same thing with Jarrett Guarantano.
I think the tougher one is Jefferson. Excuse me. Name. Help me.
The quarterback?
No. Played receiver for Tennessee. Played
Jennings?
for the Niners. Jennings. I think the real question is the Jennings question. You remember when before the Vanderbilt game, he had the meltdown?
Yep, and he had every right to have the meltdown. I totally side with him.
Okay. Well, at the time, I didn't feel as sure. But now, given that he's put together a whole slate of work for his career, I think we would all feel more sure if Juwan Jennings told his offensive coordinator to go get jumped tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Juwan Jennings is one of the best leaders this team ever had. Yeah. And he should be not just – yeah, that's a great point. Guarantano should be welcomed but never celebrated. But Jennings, Guarantano's go-to receiver, should be welcomed and celebrated. He was that good. I mean, Juwan Jennings was an incredible leader. He loved Tennessee. I mean, it was just that. Yeah, Juwan Jennings deserves all the love possible, but Guarantano should be welcomed back.
Well, and when you welcome some of these people back when they're quarterbacks or coaches, do they get too much of the brunt of welcoming them back for like the entire time they were gone?
You think they get over-welcomed back?
Well, no, I think that there are people you said, hey, guess what? Big matchup on Saturday. Tennessee plays Montana State. And you say, why should I get excited about that? Well, they're going to celebrate the Dooley years, and it should be pretty awesome. And they're going to do the Dooley years. And so we should go and we'll have fun. So
that's never going to happen, Dave.
Okay.
They are never going to celebrate Derek Dooley.
I think they should think about it.
You
never weighed in on my Philip Fulmer statue idea, by the way.
Yeah, I did. I don't like statues. I'm not a fan of them. Statues deify people.
Okay.
So Fulmer welcome back is one thing. Majors welcome back is one thing, even though they were both fired. Dooley was fired after 3 straight losing seasons. Butch Jones was fired after a complete meltdown in 2017 where people were wanting Tennessee to lose just so he would get fired. Okay, like those two are totally different. But come on, like Derek Dooley, no one's welcoming him back. No one's welcoming Jeremy Pruitt back. No one's welcoming Butch Jones back. And no one's welcoming Lane Kiffin back unless they rehire him.
How about this? Poll question. If you had to welcome one coach back to Tennessee, who would it be? With Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker. This day in Tennessee sports history. You want to do that first, Caleb?
No, let's do a break first.
Okay. This day in Tennessee sports history coming up. And also we will have What the H, and that's brought to you by our good friends at Sports Treasures. More on that. Stay tuned. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
Apologies, technical difficulties. 1 second. Just trying to get this up. Here we go.
I've been in business actually 19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. Dave Hooker here for Dynasty Pools and Spas, your home for the best spas and everything you need to jump right in. Relaxing, therapeutic, absolutely. But what sets Dynasty Pools and Spas apart from others is that you get everything with any spa purchase. You get the cover, cover lift, the steps, delivery, and chemicals. When Dynasty Pools and Spas delivers your spa from their Athens location within 125 miles, you'll get your own personal hydrotherapy spa. Mention me, Dave Hooker, or Off the Hook Sports, and get $500 off your top quality new spa. Dynasty Pools and Spas, just off the Athens exit. Drop in and receive a free gift from Off the Hook Sports, Dynasty Pools and Spas. Mention Off the Hook Sports for a drop-in prize and that $500 discount, Dynasty Pools and Spas. To check out some of the Dynasty Spa models and to buy spa chemicals, go to dynastypoolsandspas.com. Dynasty Pools and Spas. All right, Caleb Calhoun, this day in Tennessee sports history. Who we got there this day in Tennessee sports history?
On this day in 1974, 50 years ago, Tennessee with Bill Battle beat Maryland in the Liberty Bowl in Condrich Holloway's last game. They won 7-3, interestingly enough. It would be their last bowl game until 1979, as Battle wouldn't make it his next 2 years, and then Johnny Majors would come in 77.
And okay, so Majors comes in, and then it's like a dozen years of who knows what's going to happen. That was the weirdest time to be a Tennessee sports fan. It was just constantly, wasn't even battered ball syndrome. It was just this constant feeling of like regret. That's the team that you got selected to root for growing up.
No, I can see that. Yeah, it's like just when you were ready to believe they would have some letdown somewhere. That was consistent for that program during that time. But yeah, that was their last bowl win until 1981, I believe, was the 74 Liberty Bowl win over Maryland.
Let's go this day in this day in Tennessee sports history. What the H? And that's brought to you by our fantastic friends with Medicare Misty.
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
This is the show that was so over their skis about Nico and this offense that we're probably a little surprised that it's not number one in the nation. So I know our listeners and viewers know that all too well. We both thought that Nico Iamaleava had a great chance to win the Heisman. Both thought that Tennessee's offense would be like 2022 heights. So now that I throw this out to you, that Nico can win the 2025 Heisman, what would you say about that now that we have a Heisman doled out?
Well, who'd you vote for? Can I ask first?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who'd you vote for?
I went with the young man from Colorado. Now you may ask which one.
You went with Travis Hunter. He was the only one on the ballot.
Okay. Well, you can fill in whoever you want. I actually had Shedeur Sanders on my ballot of 3.
Really?
And I had Ashton Genty after I did all my research. I just felt like the two teams that would fall off the furthest from what they currently were. And again, I change each and every year, but that's how I did it this year. I just thought that Colorado, if they lost either one of those two players, would fall precipitously. Whereas I think that the other players that we could throw out there, like Stetson Bennett, I think.
You mean Carson Beck? Because you always say
Carson Beck. Sorry, but I think those losses would be manageable.
Okay, I understand that. I thought it was a bad Heisman year to begin with, honestly, but I would go with yes. I think Nico Iamaleava will win the Heisman next year. I put money on him to do it this year. I was off by a year. He had some developing he had to do. There were some issues at tackle, but I think now Nico Iamaleava is on the right track. So I do believe Nico will win the Heisman next year. I think he's ready to go off. I think if he makes noise in the college football playoff, Dave, and this is the big thing. You talked about all-season hype being crucial to win the Heisman, right?
Yes.
What happens if Nico Iamaleava, not if Tennessee wins the title, but Nico just makes a lot of noise in the college football playoff?
Let me throw a stat line out there. See if we can come to a happy medium. Let's say he's 18 of 26 for 280 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's good, not incredible, right?
But do they win?
So hoping you wouldn't make me go there. Let's say result is undetermined at this point.
Okay. I think that alone, I would say, is not enough all-season hype. I still think he'll win it, but I think if they do that and they win, he'll get the all-season hype needed to win the Heisman.
See, I think that's enough, and he'll get enough. I think he's going to be one of the top 5 guys in the Heisman talked about for next year. I don't, like you said, coming into this year, it's kind of a weak Heisman field. Well, that just speaks to what it's going to be next year, because all we do is over promote these guys. Chattanooga Mortgage, congratulations. Your home search just got easier. Buying a home in Chattanooga has never been easier. Chatmortgage.com. Chat with 2 T's, mortgage.com. Also want to thank our fantastic friends at Double D Piping. Double D Piping. And then this day in Tennessee sports history with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker, the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beat. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute best.
Pick a word for me, Caleb Calhoun. If Nico Iamaleava doesn't get invited to New York, which is a loosey-goosey number, it could be 3, it could be 5, depending on how the voting goes. So they're going to manipulate it to get as many people there as possible. They think have an actual chance of winning it, not just having them sit there like a goofball. So Caleb, if Nico did not make the ceremony during his career would be blank in your mind.
Disappointing. And I would consider him overpaid. The $2 million man, he's got to go to New York once.
Okay. Do you factor in at all? Maybe it's an offense that's been caught up to other factors that could go into that. If you
I wouldn't necessarily be disappointing on behalf of Nico. It would be disappointing somewhat on behalf of Josh Heupel.
No, I agree. No, I think you at some point you have to be sure and send the message clearly, Caleb, that this is my offense. This is not Alex Golish's offense, right?
No, I totally agree. Should we ask Jacob what he thinks about it?
Oh, yeah. Do we have Jacob now?
Yeah, we got Jacob.
Oh, sorry. I got mixed up there. Oh, Jacob's now. Hey, Jacob, how are you, sir?
We got Jacob.
Jacob.
What's up, guys?
I got a little confused on time. Do want to, though, before we get rolling and get your thoughts on Ohio State, and a lot has happened since we last visited with you, but do want to make sure that people are aware of Peak IV Hydration, peakivhydration.com. What can you tell us, Jake?
100%. Yeah, go check out the website. Like I said every week, guys, just go read about it. Go figure it out for yourself. Me and Dave obviously rave pretty highly about it, and just because we know what it's done for us. You know what I mean? That's all we can speak from. And, again, helped me through pretty much my whole athletic career. Obviously, Dave loves the energy patches and uses them pretty frequently. And you should believe that because, we love this product and we just love what they're about and, think that they can help everybody. So definitely go click the link and check them out.
Yep. Want to get your thoughts, Jacob, on some transfers out of the program. And it's happening everywhere. It's not just at Tennessee, but this is just such a busy time to have guys looking around and transferring. Can you put yourself in that position for a moment? I mean, that's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's just going to be the way it is. I think it's just going to be once that portal opens, it's just going to floodgates in, floodgates out. That's just the way that it's going to be for the next little while until everything kind of settles. And I don't even know how much it really settles, right? I think this is kind of just part of the new college football. And I was doing a recruiting seminar actually at Triple F, which is the gym I've mentioned a couple of times. We were talking yesterday, just some of the kids, and somehow different the landscape of college football is just purely because of the transfer portal, right? The NIL is a huge thing, but the transfer portal is a huge thing as well. It gives, kids at smaller schools an opportunity to maybe play at bigger schools. It gives kids that maybe had the opportunity to play at a bigger school and just maybe wasn't the right fit for them to chance to go down and be at the level that they are more comfortable at, that they can compete at. And for sure you see, names hit the portal, and a lot of these fans, a lot of these people don't really know about these kids, right? So you don't really know what's going on. You don't know their situations. And, I just ask that anybody that sees news about transfer portal and stuff like that, just be super, just obviously, I don't want to say lenient, but just kind of be understanding from where they're coming from. I think a lot of guys get ragged on, and it's a little bit less nowadays because it's so normal. But yeah, just supporting these guys through all their transitions and supporting those that are coming in as well, and welcoming them to the family is going to be huge.
Jacob, you had a fantastic support system there in West Knoxville with your family as well. Not everybody has that. Have you been in situations where you've seen a guy that now that there's NIL money there to be had, that maybe family, friends are making a run at him?
I mean, as far as trying to get money off of you, or as far as like trying to get you, yeah. I mean, this is a huge conversation that you have in the NFL, right? And I wasn't there for long, but just the prep meetings and all the rookie meetings and things like that. It's whenever money gets involved, man, it's just something changes and something happens and everything. But again, luckily for me, I had pretty much everyone that I loved and cared about. Not everybody, right? There's some extended family and stuff, but all my real people were right there with me, and man, saw me through just the grind days of my early career at Tennessee, and saw things really start to shift and change for me. And for sure, I think they more or less just were happy about me getting rewarded after some time of just putting a lot of work in, and we're just happy to see me be able to, buy them nice Christmas gifts and be able to buy myself nice clothes and, got a car. Like, there's just all these things, all these blessings, man, that have come out of it that, man, my family would never, I know you're not saying mine would, but yeah, my family never had their hands in my pockets. I think just because of the way I'm able to give back to them and support them the way they supported me throughout, man, just high school, middle school, just my whole life. So, yeah, it's been awesome to be able to provide in any way for them, right? I think scholarship, I know I'm ranting, but we talked about this at the recruiting seminar yesterday too, man. A scholarship to any school is arguably the biggest blessing that a kid can give his parents, and just the ability to provide for himself or herself, athletically and financially is super huge. So it's been awesome, man.
So Jacob, just since Dave and I last did the show, just for people to know, since then, Nathan Leacock, Nate Spillman, and Cam Selden have all entered the portal. Selden actually has had some roles with Tennessee. How do you weigh this is obviously unique because of the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm.
How do you weigh the concept of maybe potentially being a contributor in a playoff game versus if you're going to transfer, needing to go ahead and make that move since this is the best window to do it? I mean, what do you do?
It's crazy.
That's the question of the hour. I think that's so yeah, man. I've talked to plenty of guys on the team that are considering, people that are in the portal, had conversations with, and yeah, that's obviously the first question. You're like, dude, this is what you work for. Like, this is the whole reason why we're all up at, not all anymore, but that's the whole reason why everybody's up at 6 a.m. in the morning, working out, spring practice, fall camp, summer workouts. This is the reason why you do it. You do it for the season, but you do it so that when this moment comes right here and you have a chance to go win everything right in front of everybody, that's what you want, right? So to me, it just is so, I can only imagine how strongly they must really feel about trying to find a new home if that's the opportunity they're giving up. And so, when you think of it like that, it's like, all right, obviously it means quite a bit to them, and they really think that this is the best thing for them. And that's a very, very tough decision to make. And I'm happy I'm not in that position, because no, for sure, that's very, very hard. And you wish, in a perfect world, that the portal didn't even open until the season was over, and everybody could just finish out their seasons. And if you didn't make the playoffs, now maybe you can get in the portal. Obviously, that's not fair, but what I'm saying. Like, you just wish that there was a perfect situation, but they're just really not.
Well, it just would have taken a couple of semi-intelligent guys to put this together in a better fashion, but they didn't do that 50 years ago, whenever it was. Go ahead,
they should have had us on the staff there.
That's right.
Figured it out.
So, so Jacob, actually, I want you to go back and answer the question we had right before you came on. I think it's a disappointment if Nico's not in New York before his career is over, at least in the Heisman ceremony, because, I mean, I know you guys don't like to talk about it, but that dude did take a lot of money to go to Tennessee. So
he sure did. Yeah, he sure did. And the Heisman was, I'm not even going to sound, I'm trying not to sound like an old head, dude. The Heisman was once a purely just talent, like guys like Reggie Bush, Derrick Henry, guys are just purely, you look at him and like, that's literally the best player ever. Right? He's the best player in all of college football. That is what that award is. And don't get me wrong, I'm super happy that Travis Hunter won the award. I think he's a very, very special player, very, very special athlete. What he does on both sides of the ball is insane. Guys like Ashton Genty, what he does with the football in his hand is insane, right? But at the same time, I don't see how. I don't know. It's just I think there's not enough players. There he goes. See you later. I think there's not enough players in contention, but there has to be, right? I don't know. It's a super weird thing to me because I think there's so many people who win this award.
I actually have a theory. I have a theory. So I covered a lot of guys that did not get paid NIL money, like you guys were able to take advantage of, and you should. And I said the whole time, 20 years of working in the sports media business, I said that should be the case. And finally it was. But I think there were players that were disenchanted or down about the entire college football experience because they were having trouble making ends meet. I'm not saying it was, across the board, and they probably could have spent their money a little bit more carefully. But I just think the overall level of college football in general is up just from last year because guys realize if they go out and ball out, that they're going to get taken care of in some shape.
You broke off, 100%. Whether that's by your school or by someone else, right? So, there's I guess more motivation to play. There's more, incentive in trying to have really good stats and go and put really, really good numbers up. I think again that's how it should have been forever, but that's just part of it. And I think it's also you see the playing field leveling out with all this NIL stuff too, right? I think maybe we've talked about this, but teams that were worse before, have gotten some pretty good talent, right? Because maybe they could pay for it, whatever. And then teams that were super, super good before might lose their 2s and 3s the same way we are. Like Caleb Webb getting in the portal, like in my opinion, Caleb's an amazing wide receiver, right? He's got some things here and there. He might not be literally just the fastest burner, but good hands, good size, good strength, pretty good speed, runs good routes. He can be a guy that plays football for you, right? But you're going to lose him to Wake Forest, and he's going to go make money at Wake Forest and be a baller there, and that's okay, right? That's just the nature of the game now. It's just every team is going to get ballers, and every team is going to just have to continue to try to supplement their backups and their bench with other people. So I don't know, man. It's totally changed. And John Lee, thank you. I appreciate the comment.
I was a little surprised too by Chaz Nimrod because it was obvious in the middle of the season they thought he could play and they wanted him to play, and that wasn't the case. So that one kind of caught my eye too as well, Jacob.
Yeah, but you also have to think like kids there for 2-3 years. I mean, I don't know exactly where they're for. They've been there for 2 or 3. Chaz and Caleb.
Chaz 2. Let me check.
I don't know how it's not really that important, but he said, "Why not help Coach Heisman out by taking me to a nice men's store?" I'll tell him who said that. But no, yeah, like for a guy that's been there 2 or 3 years, right? And I think for sure on the inside and in those rooms and stuff, you hear the same message since you've been there, right? I think a lot of kids kind of get stuck in this rut of purely kind of just getting out recruited by the portal, right? I think that if Chaz and if Caleb are players that exist before all this portal stuff went crazy, they would have just been more. I think they would have gotten more developed. They would have become better players and would have been better role players for the team because they would have had to be, right? That was the situation I was in. I promise you, if I was, a freshman, sophomore in this situation right now, I probably would have got out recruited and I probably would not have had a career that I did, just because I would never been forced into this situation wherever I really probably wasn't good enough to be playing or developed enough to be playing. I was kind of thrown into that situation and they couldn't out recruit me because every person they brought in was a freshman, right? And I could figure out how to beat freshmen, but I knew if they brought in a guy like myself my senior year, whenever I was a sophomore or junior trying to actually make my case, right? Like, I'm not saying I would have lost to him. Like, obviously I'm a competitive person, a good player, but who knows what could have happened, right? So that's what happened. That's what's happening to all these young players is they're great players and they have great talent. It just, you go get a guy like Dante Thornton in the portal and pay him how much you pay him. I mean, that kid is a freak, right? Fastest guy on the field, him, Squirrel, like whatever. But I don't know, you got guys like Brew. It just, It's just tough, man. It's especially for a position like receiver, can just be tough. So I'm happy for them, and I'm getting long-winded, but hopefully they go have great success, wherever.
Were you ever close to transferring and seeing if there was more playing time to be had?
Yeah, now that I'm, been out of it for a little while, for sure, I think it always goes through a kid's head whenever things aren't going well, right? It's mostly times of adversity and things that you meet that you start having decisions of, or start having questions of, like, am I doing the right thing for myself and for my future and all those different things. And to say the least, was going through a lot of adversity the first few years of my career, and just didn't really see it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Luckily for me, we hired a really, really good one, and a really good person, and a good man, and a good coach, and got a bunch of really good players and good assistants around me to help support me and help give me the, moral support, but also just the football support that I needed, and that I wanted, and that I, was looking for. So it worked out.
Jacob, sorry, my power went out and I had to hop.
Took a little break there, huh? A little coffee break.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of that, the idea of transferring and things like that, we've talked a little bit before you came on. You were obviously teammates with Jarrett Guarantano, and you guys had to deal with a lot under Jerry Pruitt and Jim Chaney during those years.
Mm-hmm.
I maintain Tennessee should welcome him back with open arms, because he talked about wanting to get back into Vol Nation's good graces over the weekend.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about how much we don't know he was going through during that time? Because I know he was dealing with so much, wasn't he, during the Pruitt years?
Yeah, I mean, that guy was honestly, like, first of all, he's a good quarterback, right? Like, he was never just a terrible quarterback. He always had talent. He always was able to run. He always was able to throw, make throws. There was games he threw for 300 yards, right? Like, he played good ball. I think he also played bad ball, right? Sometimes we all do. We all did. As a quarterback, we've talked about this. It doesn't matter, right? If you play a bad game, like, that's all you. If you play a good game, that's all you. You get all the love, you get all the hate. I think for him, unfortunately, a lot of the hate outweighed a lot of the love, and he was getting more, down-putting and discouraging messages than he was getting, encouraging messages. And for any, he was old to me at the time, because I was freshman, sophomore. I was young, right? I was just 17, 18 years old. So to me, it looked like, he was, I don't even know how to explain it, but as an underclassman, you look at those guys and you're just like, these guys are just, they're tough, right? They're grown men, right? And then you get to be that point, and I can't even imagine going through that he went through, personally. So, man, anytime I ever see him or I talk to him on social media or something, he's never been nasty to me. He's never been nasty to any of his teammates. He's always just kept it real, man, and just, we all kind of understood the situation. He needed to get out, and he was no longer really supported here. Not by us, not by the team or his friends or anything, just purely just by the situation. And it is upsetting, but at the same time, I'm happy that I saw him at one of the games, one of the home games during the regular season, and just, asked him, how are you? And, like, I'm happy to see you, right? And in a way that he knew I meant, like, I'm happy that you're here, right? And I'm happy that you're back in Tennessee. I'm happy that you're showing face, right? And just kind of accepting the fact that, yeah, whatever happened. But, he said that a lot of people accepted him and were super happy to see him, and even fans and things like that were happy to see him. So he seems to be in a pretty good place right now, hopefully. I know he's training some kids and doing different things and just using his mind and his talent to continue to further his, his career and things like that. So I'm happy that he's finally feels like he's able to come back around and be comfortable here.
Nice. Speaking of training kids, people can do that with you as well, with Triple F. Tell us about that.
100%. You're good at your job, Dave. I appreciate it. Yeah. So kind of just the situation, man. I work at this gym called Triple F Elite Sports Training in Knoxville, Tennessee. I work for a man named Lee Smith, who, if you don't know who Lee Smith is, he's a paddle guy, Knoxville guy who grew up in the area and played 11 years in the league, and then has come back and is trying to make an impact in young kids' lives and just teach them how to be a professional athlete. And obviously, not everybody's gonna be a professional athlete, but there is a way to go about training and a way to go about preparation at the high school level, and that's what we do. So, for sure, I would love to talk to anybody that's interested. I can drop the number in the chat, or you guys can just, find it on any social media or look it up online and get the number and call and just kind of see what we're all about. But would highly encourage you guys with any young kids, middle school, high school, that are looking to get some training and looking to really take their game to the next level. It's where we do it.
Good stuff. I appreciate it, Jacob. We will talk to you next week. We appreciate it.
Of course. See you guys later.
Thank you, buddy.
Everyone, Jacob.
Jacob, stay tuned. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. The Vols do lose some prospects to the transfer portal. We'll discuss it. They lose anything significant. Conference title games becoming a play-in game. This guy said that was going to happen. Men's basketball holds off Illinois. Stat of the day as well. And Lady Vols can shoot a lot of threes. Running up the score? The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute best in fire prevention.
With our brand new location on Emory Road, Eye Care Optical is bringing East Tennessee's best eye care to your neighborhood. Doctors Johnston and Combs offer unmatched expertise and care without a trip to Knoxville. Eye Care Optical, now in Powell.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at NFC1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East Tennessee locations.
When the lights turn on and the game begins, you need a team that gets the job done. It's Ford commercial truck season at Ray Varner Ford in Clinton, where our strong lineup is built for power and performance. Step up your game in this new 24 F-150 4x4 Super Crew, $46,997. At 250 cargo van, $50,950. 24 Ford Maverick XLT Hybrid, $28,929.
Local you trust, performance you can afford. Ray Varner Ford, built for the game.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, wizard.
The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of Off the Hook Sports, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
Welcome back to the program. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. We've talked about the transfer portal players that have affected the Vols roster. Let's actually give a little bit more of an in-depth breakdown as we do that. And Cooper Mays, what should people do that want to get some more recruiting information? Coop?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
What down is it here, Coop?
Coop here. First down.
All right, let's go ahead and start the transfers, and we'll run through them. Cam Selden, number 1, running back. I think one of us on this actual show thought that he might be a star this year. He was not.
Neither one of us thought he'd be a star this year. Which one are you talking about?
I thought you were high on him. Sorry.
High on Peyton Lewis.
Okay. I knew that, too. I thought you were high.
Yeah, Cam Selden was more of a specialist. I kind of figured he would hit the portal with Sampson getting more touches. Peyton Lewis is now the next feature back, and there's more running backs coming in. This is not a surprise, honestly.
Yeah. All right, what down, Coop?
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
All right, Nate Spillman. He decides to transfer out.
Walk on. I was shocked he even went to Tennessee.
Yep.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
Nathan Leacock.
This one kind of surprised me. I thought he might work his way into the rotation with Caleb Webb and Chaz Nimrod hitting the portal. I thought he might see an opening. This leads me to believe that Josh Heupel has some other elite receivers coming down the pipe, but we'll have to see how that plays out.
Well, I think for those two that when you want to kind of line up recruiting bodies, so to speak, is what I used to call it when you're trying to line up why this guy ends there and why that guy ended there, that you could theoretically look back at the Chaz Nimrod decision and say he might have been – I was told he might have been given some information as to who they're recruiting in the transfer portal. Is that a safe way to say it?
Yes, that's fair to say.
Okay. So if he knows he's got somebody that's a 4-star coming out of high school or suddenly lit it up, I don't know how much should you be expected to tell somebody that you've employed? I mean, you're evaluating essentially their replacement. I don't know how that conversation works. I had to be a part of one of those conversations.
Not me neither. I have no idea. Let's do fourth down because I want to get back to the Nico conversation in a minute.
Okay.
With the highest.
All right.
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
Okay. Fourth down was just, I was going to throw this out. Which one of the transfers do you think has been most damning for the Vols? I would have to go with Chaz Nimrod because I think that this coaching staff thought that he was ready to contribute, and he doesn't think that's the case, and I think that's troubling.
Yeah, I'd go Nimrod. I'd go Nimrod. I'm with you on that. Chaz Nimrod is probably the one they thought they could use a little more, and particularly with Caleb Webb gone, I was a little bit surprised by that. So, yeah. So I wanted to move back again, shift back to the Nico conversation because we had to cut it off because Jacob Warren was on earlier, but I wanted to talk a little bit about. I wanted to get your thoughts, Dave. Do you find it disappointing if Nico Iamaleava is not in New York next year? Do you find his career to be a disappointment? Or do you think he'll come back in 2026?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and jump past that. I'm going to say that he's talented enough where he just plays 3 years in college football. So I'm going to go ahead and take that leap of faith. And I'm going to say that, yes, it's a disappointment if he doesn't end up in New York City. It's a disappointment not only for how they put together game plans or play calls or whatever the case may be, or assembled a roster, because this was your golden goose. I mean, this is what so certainly I don't think that's even a negative narrative, as some of those like to say in the sports information business. I mean, if I told you that Nico's going to sign this big contract and he's not going to be in the Heisman ceremony for 3 years, you would have said no doubt disappointment, Caleb.
Absolutely. Huge disappointment. Disappointment for Tennessee, disappointment for Nico, and maybe even disappointment for the voters if they don't put him there, depending how he plays. I think there's a great chance he turns into being a Heisman favorite, though, this offseason. If he plays well in the college football playoff, Dave, there's no clear-cut favorite going into 2025. So Nico could do that.
Yeah, but are there many Heisman favorites most years, to be honest with you? I mean, do we really know going into the year most? I mean,
Travis Hunter was always kind of the sexy pick going into the year. Caleb Williams was last year, but he didn't win it because he won it the year before, but he was a Heisman because he won it the year before. There are favorites. I don't know how often they win it, though, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so if you look at Lenore Sellers is one that's getting some odds out there. Garrett Nussmeier's getting votes. I don't know what they're just randomly putting people on there. I guess anybody. Nico getting some votes, but I'm not seeing any strong numbers. Have you seen any strong numbers to Nico could be a 15-1 or anything along those lines?
No, nothing yet. Nothing's really up yet. I'll keep tracking it, but nothing's up yet that I've seen.
What were they this past year? Because we were all over it.
When I took the bet, it was I think it was 15-1, something like that, plus 150. Or maybe no, it was plus 1,050. No, it's plus 2,500. Plus 2,500 was the bet.
Okay, so let me ask you, if that same bet comes across your table, are you taking it this year?
Yes, and I don't have a gambling problem at all. Yes.
Sounds awful when you say that, though, doesn't it?
It does.
I don't have a drinking problem at all. Yeah, I would too. I think if you can get it anywhere at 20-1 plus, and you think he's got a good chance, and good chance to me is a 1 in 5 shot of winning it, I think you've got to take those odds and jump all over it.
No, I totally agree. And I think you can get amazing odds with him on that. So I would absolutely take him to win the Heisman in that front.
Okay. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. Coming up, it looks like these conference championship games are going to be title games. Caleb told you that would be the case. And also, Hoops is in good hands. Rick Barnes and Kim Caldwell continue to show a pretty impressive product on hand. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
Oh, are we doing our third commercial break? I apologize.
We'll go ahead and do that right now. The show represented by Banks & Jones, banksandjones.com.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Neubert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Neubert Collision Center.
24 F-150 4x4 Super Crew, $46,997. 24 Ford Transit 250 Cargo Van, $50,950. 24 Ford Maverick XLT Hybrid, $28,929. Local you trust, power you can afford.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air. Dare to compare.
With our brand new location on Emory Road, Eye Care Optical is bringing East Tennessee's best eye care to your neighborhood. Doctors Johnston and Combs offer unmatched expertise and care without a trip to Knoxville. Eye Care Optical, now in Powell.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute best in fire prevention.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
He tries very hard. The Dave Hooker Show.
All I know is when we win a game, it's a team win. When we lose a game, it's a team loss.
A presentation of Off the Hook Sports.
Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable!
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
Talk some men's hoops coming up. How about the lady balls as well? What has you more excited, Caleb? Tennessee's men's team or Tennessee's women's team willingness to shoot a lot?
I was saying the women for a long time, but after watching the men on Saturday, I'm leaning the men. They're better than I thought. I'll get to that, but that was the most impressive win of the Rick Barnes era, and I'll break down why.
Wow. Okay, well, let's just go ahead and dive into it right now.
Let's do conference title games first.
Okay.
Let's talk about conference title.
Conference championship games. Here we go. Your thoughts on those? They feel more like a bowl game each and every passing day.
So the news broke last week. I don't know if you guys saw this. There's a dilemma for the SEC and the Big Ten, Dave. You know what that dilemma is?
What is that dilemma?
They still want this expanded playoff because they want all their teams done. But doing that devalues the conference title games. But Dave, the networks paid a lot of money for those conference title games.
Mm-hmm. You've got you're essentially a person. This is what I thought of that can afford one car, but thinks because they can make the down payment, they can go buy 2 cars. So that's essentially what has happened. The SEC and Big Ten have bought 2 cars, but they can afford 1 car.
Yeah, so exactly.
Yeah, and so I think it makes them both look a little goofy.
So guess what they have floated and what is going to probably happen to fix this issue?
They'll split it with the athletes.
No.
That's what they usually just always said. Like, why didn't you do that in the first place 50 years ago?
Well, I'm going to make your head explode on this. The SEC and the Big Ten are going to lobby the playoff to get multiple auto bids. So, like, the SEC is going to lobby to say, like, automatically 4 SEC teams go to the playoff no matter what. And the Big Ten is going to do the same thing. There will be no SEC championship game. Conference title weekend will be play-in games for the 4th and the 5th seeds in the SEC to go to the playoff.
Oh, that's not making my head explode. That'll happen within 5 years.
That's the only way to make it matter, right?
Yeah.
Like, but again, it used to be you played for the SEC championship that weekend to win the SEC, and then you could go play for the national title. Now, we're talking it's a play-in game for a playoff. And that's just to keep the value where it is since the value is devalued so much. How bad is that, Dave? Think about that for a minute. How embarrassing is that?
Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. But I think what you're going to see is this. I think the Big Ten and the SEC are kind of in this last chance sprint to gain the most control possible, because I think the individual schools are going to start to lose some of that control as they lose control financially of where this money is going. So I feel like that all of these schools are trying to get that last bit of control before it's all regulated, which it's got to be. You can't have guys evaluating other programs that they could play that week, for goodness sake.
Exactly. And Chris, just want to correct one thing. It's not 2 SEC games. There will be no SEC championship game. It'll just be a play-in game. Derek's asking where I got this source from. It was a CBS Sports report last week that it was floated. And basically, what they want to do is they want to guarantee that the SEC and the Big Ten will each have 4 teams in. And that way they can do the conference title game as a play-in game for like 4th and 5th. So this year, Alabama finished 4th and South Carolina finished 5th. I think Ole Miss finished 6th, but whatever. But it'd be Alabama and South Carolina would play each other for a play-in game to get to the college football playoff. That's how they would do that. Or maybe Tennessee and Alabama if you only get 3 teams guaranteed in.
So wait, then you would have an SEC championship game that could consist of your 4th and 5th highest rated teams?
Yes, because there will be no championship game. It'll be a play-in game for the playoff.
Okay, well, then that is stupid. Then you are making it look like a play-in game, which I know it is, but you just don't make it look like that.
That's what it is. That's what it is. And they, because the networks need some value, they need to give people a reason to watch the games. Dave, did you really care about the games over conference championship weekend? I didn't.
I did. I know a lot of people that agreed with you and didn't.
Yeah. So they need to not have that happen again. So this playoff schedule only runs through 2025. So next year. And then they're going to reformat it. I am telling you guys, this is coming. I am telling you guys, this is coming. They're going to make the conference title games play-in games for the college football playoff between the 4th and the 5th seeds, and the top 3 teams in the conference just to automatically go. That's how this is going to play out. At which point, Dave, if your standing in your conference is determinative of how you get to the playoff, what's the point of playing non-conference big games at that point? What's the point of even having non-conference games? Doesn't matter if you want to lose. All that matters is where you finish in your conference.
I've questioned why you'd even roll the guys out there to play Kent State this year. You just risk a chance that they're going to get hurt. All right, let's talk some hoops. Tennessee and Auburn fighting for that number 1 spot. Kansas back in that top 10. What do you think of the basketball Vols so far this year?
Tennessee basketball just got its most impressive win ever in the Rick Barnes era on Saturday. So for those who didn't see, Jordan Gainey hit a last-second layup to give Tennessee a 66-64 win. Tennessee holds on to number 1. Guys, I know Tennessee has beaten 2 number 1s under Rick Barnes. They have like 35 top 25 wins. They've got 17 top 25 wins on the road. They've beaten top 10 teams on the road. They have been on a roll. Nothing was more impressive than what they did at Illinois over the weekend. Because this is the type of game that even number 1 teams lose, Dave. Think about it. You're going to an unranked team that's 8-2, fringe top 25. You're playing them on the road, and the refs are calling every ticky-tack foul possible. Your best player fouls out, Chaz Lanier. Your second best player fouls out, Sakai Ziegler, who is your leader. Your best defender gets in foul trouble, and Jemai Mashak. You're hurt right now because Cameron Carr is not playing yet, and Darlington Dubois is still trying to get acclimated to the system, and you still find a way to win.
Okay, can I play the other side of it? This is what somebody texted me from from up in the Boston neck of the woods. Said he's a big Tennessee fan. He said it's exactly what we don't need, and that is Tennessee playing at a high level, winning a game that they probably shouldn't have, and all of those things happening because it could keep Tennessee from maturing. That's probably a better game to win to get your or lose, to get your guys' attention. Right or wrong? You agree with any of that?
No, I think they're very mature. I think that would make sense if this was a one and done group of freshmen. These are all 4th and 5th year seniors who are all very mature, who want to take their game to the next level. And I don't think that's anything to worry about at all. I think the men's basketball team is in great shape with Illinois, with beating Illinois. That was an impressive win. I mean, that was a dogfight. They proved they can win in the clutch. Again, these are Dave, you run into that. You inevitably run into a game in March, right? And March Madness, where the refs will call every ticky-tack foul. That's half the reasons upsets happen. I'm just going to say it, college basketball refs are the worst refs in all of sports. They're horrible. And so to be able to win that game proves that they could win it in March. And by the way, they weren't shooting well from 3. All their players were in foul trouble. It was a ticky-tack game. And they were on the road, which they won't be on the road in March, and they still find a way to win. I can't say enough about. I mean, I have not seen a number one. Teams don't win that. I've moved from this is a national title team to this team will win the national title. I'm calling it right now. Tennessee basketball will win the national championship this year. That I've never seen a team yet. I don't think UConn of the last 2 years could have done what Tennessee did on Saturday at Illinois.
It's pretty hot. I don't know what those odds are, but it's pretty hot. Now, Pseudo Sham, though, on the message board kind of halfway goes with Caleb here. And he said that he thinks it'll be a confidence booster to the second-tier players. That might be the case. I just worried about this entire team getting too much of a big head earlier in the season. So let me ask you this, Caleb. What's the next step for this basketball program? At this time last year, and I checked my notes from this time last year, and we were talking about that connect guy. Can they get him the ball even more? Do they do more along the lines of getting him the ball? And turns out, yes, they did, and that's what they did, and it worked out well. So what do you think is the next step for this basketball team's development, Caleb, that we'll look back in 2-4 weeks from now and say, yep, that's when they hit another level?
The next step is Darlington Dubar taking another level. If Darlington Dubar can develop, and then he'll be able to play under the basket, that gives them more depth in the post. And he showed some flashes over the weekend. So that's the next step. And then there's obviously just getting healthy with Cameron Carr. But Darlington Dubar, if he can develop, I mean, again, this team, even without JP Estrella, this team looks unbeatable, Dave. I'm going to say it, they look unbeatable. They're so mature. They're so talented. I can't say enough about them. And honestly, I got them winning the national title this year because of it.
He's the one who says it. Caleb Calhoun, bank on it. Brought to you by Commercial Bank.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
You're listening to The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
The internet is full of pictures of each and every one of you.
Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free.
Is there nothing you people can't do?
Also available on offthehooksports.com.
Welcome back to the program, the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Couple more notes on hoops. Let me ask you this, because Darlington Dubar, I think, everything's going to be fine, but we've seen those situations with off-field stuff and again, nothing wrong in the young person's regard there. I want to be really clear on that. So not aware that anything's been done off the court that should receive any sort of punishment or anything like that. Just been told a personal issue. So, but if it's not Dubar just on the court, what's the answer? Because you're putting a lot of pressure on that one area if Dubar doesn't come through.
Well, I mean, Chad Lanier is obviously the star, but you're talking about for depth, right?
Yes.
But Yeah. Maybe Bishop Boswell develops. They've been playing him a little bit more. I think that would be the hope, is to see him take a step forward where they could use him. Rick Barnes, on principle, I don't like this principle, but his principle is, I'm not going to guys earn minutes. You earn playing time. The problem with that principle is sometimes you need to play guys who didn't earn playing time because you need to give your starters rest for March. Like, you can live on that all day, but I don't think it's the smartest way to live. I think
hasn't he kind of changed that up in the past couple of years?
No, he just did last year because his team was so loaded and so deep. But he didn't the year before. So that's and he didn't when he had Grant Williams, and that cost them in the NCAA tournament when they had Grant Williams. So I think that's kind of the big thing for Rick Barnes. I'll point this out, though. There should be plenty of time to develop for Tennessee after what happened over the weekend, Dave, because, look, the SEC's loaded this year. I think the SEC has like 7 top 25 teams, so they have a very brutal road once the SEC begins. But want to know what's on their schedule for the next couple of weeks, Dave, until the SEC play begins?
Lay it on me.
Oh, they get Western Carolina tomorrow. They then get MTSU next Monday. And then coming back from Christmas, they get Norfolk State. So we're talking they're going to stay number one. They're going to stay number one until January. And then on Saturday, January the 4th, they begin SEC play with John Calipari and Arkansas coming to town. So John Calipari and Arkansas are going to head to Thompson Bowling Arena with Tennessee undefeated and number one in the nation. And I actually wanted to, funny enough, close with this. This is my key stat of the day. Ready for the stat of the day?
I'm ready.
Tennessee will enter today number one. The first time they have been number one for consecutive weeks. Only the second time in history they did that. The last time was 2019. They've never been number one for consecutive weeks outside of that. They were number one before. They were number one in 2008 after beating Memphis. But if you remember, they lost to Vanderbilt the following Tuesday. So they were only number one for a week.
No, and even that, it's like 48 hours or 46 hours.
Well, but the polls don't come out until a week later. So they got to claim their number one ranking for a week.
Yeah, but you look back at that, it did not have, you brought this up before, it did not have the monstrous impact on the program that a 1 versus 2 matchup you would think would.
No, it didn't, because 1 versus 2 matchups in college basketball are stupid and don't matter because they have this 800,000 team NCAA tournament that they deal with.
Yep. Tomorrow on the program, it'll be John Adams.
Let's talk about the Lady Vols real quick.
Let's get to the Lady Vols first, though. Lady Vols making a whole bunch of threes and shooting a whole bunch of threes.
Yes, for those who watched over the weekend, the Tennessee Lady Vols, they won their game 139-59 on Saturday. Beat UNC Central 139-59. Now, UNC Central is not a good basketball team. They are 0-12. However, this is still an impressive win. Tennessee ranked in the top 20. Dave, they set an NCAA record for threes. Here's our other stat of the day. Guess how many threes they hit?
28.
No, that's the record they broke. They hit 30. They hit 30 threes. Here's the key point of this game. Samara Spencer was the star. She was 9 of 13 from 3. She had 33 points and 10 assists. They forced 44 turnovers. 44 turnovers. And they had 22 steals. Now, here's why this all is relevant. They don't have a lot of good shooters on the team, Dave. Now, they got hot from 3 on Saturday. They went 30 of 63. The truth of the matter is they hit all those threes because they got a lot of great looks. Because in Kim Caldwell's system, they force a lot of turnovers. I told you guys, Kim Caldwell in the offseason, she has 3 things she needs for her team to be good: size, athleticism, and shooting. She couldn't get all those on the recruiting trail this offseason, so she went straight for size and athleticism, sacrifice shooting. Her philosophy was if the open looks are there from the turnovers they generate, they'll hit enough threes. That was exactly the case on Saturday where they set the record for threes in NCAA. Dave, the reason I'm bringing all this up is it's scary what Tennessee can be when Kim Caldwell wants. She doesn't even have a good shooting team, and they set the NCAA record for threes. Imagine what they're going to do when she gets her shooters in there.
Yep. Last look brought to you by Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Look at me. No contacts, no glasses. Thanks to LASIK from Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn.
The first step to better vision is to visit ccteyes.com. The information you need is easy to access, and setting an appointment is as simple as clicking the tab. Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn, and Eye Care Optical at ccteyes.com.
Weekdays live on YouTube and wherever you stream or podcast. Be sure and leave us a review. Hit that like and subscribe button. Turn the notifications on. We'll visit with Cooper Mays. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.